Assalamu alaikum. Pakistan Zindabad, the next world superpower. In today's episode, we step into a world that does not appear on maps. A world of signals, shadows, and silent victories. Nations do not fall only when armies fail, they fall when intelligence fails. From inter-services intelligence to military intelligence, from counter-terror operations to information warfare, Pakistan's survival story is inseparable from its intelligence networks. Hosted by Mr. Ali and Miss Aisha, and authored by Mr. Zahir Ahmad Mir, this is episode 48, Intelligence Networks, ISI, MI, and Strategic Information Operations.
Our guide for this journey is the incredible book, The Generals of Pakistan, by Mr. Zahir Ahmad Mir. Now, this book, it pulls back the curtain on a world that's all about shadows and secrecy, and it makes a powerful case that intelligence is one of the most critical pillars of national security. So let's kick things off with a quote from the book that really sets the tone.
Okay, just let that sink in for a moment. Wars are not won only on battlefields. They are won in silence, shadows, and signals. Wow, I mean, that's a powerful statement, right? It just perfectly captures the whole idea we're exploring today. The biggest, most decisive conflicts, they aren't always fought with tanks and planes. They're fought with information, with secrets, with knowing what your adversary is going to do before they even think about doing it. It's all about the game of foresight.
And that idea leads us directly into our first major topic, Pakistan's invisible shield. The whole concept here is about anticipating threats before they can even strike.
You see, the book argues that for a country like Pakistan, located in one of the most, let's say, complex regions in the world, just having a strong army isn't enough. It's not just about soldiers and weapons. Survival, true long-term survival, has really depended on this unseen defense force. Think about that for a second. A whole network of people, analysts, operatives, working completely behind the scenes. They're the silent guardians, the ones who provide that crucial strategic edge by knowing things, by connecting the dots that no one else can see. They're shaping events and keeping things stable, all from the shadows.
So, who are these silent guardians? Well, the book breaks it down into two core agencies. We're talking about the strategic brain and the internal grid. All right, let's get into the specifics, because this is super important to understand. These two agencies, the ISI and MI, are not the same thing. They have very different, very specialized jobs. Think of the ISI, the Inner Services Intelligence, as Pakistan's eyes and ears on the rest of the world. It's the strategic brain. Its entire focus is external. They're dealing with espionage, figuring out what other countries are planning, monitoring the entire region, and coordinating counterterrorism efforts across borders. They are, in essence, playing chess on a global scale, always trying to stay proactive. Then you have the MI, or military intelligence. They are the internal grid. Their job is to look inward, to protect the armed forces from the inside. We're talking about counter-espionage, making sure there are no spies in the ranks, protecting troops, and making absolutely certain that military operations stay secret. They are the ultimate protectors of the Army's own cohesion and discipline. The book uses this really brilliant metaphor to describe MI's role. It says, MI ensures that the sword remains sharp and unbroken from within. Love that, it's so vivid. So if you imagine the ISI is the one aiming the sword at threats out there in the world, the MI is the one making sure the sword itself is flawless. Making sure there are no cracks in the blade, no weaknesses. Because honestly, what good is a sword if it shatters the first time you use it? That internal strength, that integrity, it's absolutely fundamental. Without it, your entire defense strategy just falls apart.
Okay, so we've got this framework of an external brain and an internal grid. But how does it all work in practice? Well, there's no better test case than Pakistan's long, difficult, and ultimately successful fight against terrorism. And what the book argues here is absolutely fascinating. It says the tide was turned not by sheer military force, but by something much more powerful: knowledge. It was a classic case of intelligence defeating a war of sheer numbers.
So you're probably asking, how exactly did knowledge win this war? Well, during massive operations like Zarb-e-Azb and Rad-ul-Fasad, it wasn't one single thing, but a series of breakthroughs that all came from smarter intelligence. First, and this was a total game changer, they started sharing intelligence in real time. The old days of different agencies keeping secrets from each other? Gone. Everyone was on the same page. Second, they used biometrics to identify militants. Suddenly, these terrorists couldn't just blend into a crowd anymore. They had an identity that could be tracked. Then, step 3, they mapped the financial trails. You know the saying, Follow the money? They did that, and it starved the terrorists of their resources. This led directly to step 4. They could now find and dismantle terrorist cells hidden in cities before they could attack. And finally, the 5th piece of the puzzle, they got so good at analyzing data, they could actually predict where militants would try to cross the border and stop them in their tracks. It was a complete 360-degree intelligence victory.
And it all comes back to this one powerful conclusion from the book. Terrorism was defeated not by numbers, but by knowledge. This really marked a shift in modern warfare. It proved that the most powerful weapon you can have isn't necessarily a missile or a tank, it's superior information. It's about outthinking the enemy, getting inside their network, and understanding their next move before they even make it. That's how you win in the modern age.
So that victory was a defining moment. But you know, the world never stands still, does it? The challenges today are evolving. And that brings us to the modern intelligence doctrine, which has to deal with new kinds of battlefields. We're talking about something called narrative warfare, and the need for what the book calls principled operations. So, what on earth is narrative warfare? It might sound like something out of a science fiction movie, but it is very, very real. Think of it this way. In today's world, with social media and the 24-hour news cycle, the most powerful weapon can often be a story. It's a battle over perception. The goal is to counter enemy propaganda, to get your own story out there, and to control the information landscape during a crisis. It's literally a war fought over what people believe to be true. It's a digital and psychological battlefield, and winning on it is absolutely critical in the 21st century.
Now, the book points to a modern doctrine that's taking shape, which it calls the Asim Munir doctrine. And it's really about getting back to basics, but with a high-tech twist. First, a huge emphasis on institutional professionalism. Second, and this is a big one, reducing political exposure, keeping the agencies laser-focused on their national security mission. Then, there's a major push towards technology-driven intelligence. We're talking about a massive expansion of cyber intelligence capabilities. And finally, making sure all the different agencies coordinate seamlessly. But, and this part is key, without overreaching, without stepping outside of their legally defined roles. And the whole philosophy behind this modern approach can be summed up in this one incredibly important line. Intelligence must protect the state, not replace it. This is such a critical distinction. It's a powerful statement of principle. It means that the intelligence community's job is to be the shield, to be the guardian of the state and its democratic institutions, not to become a power center unto itself. It's all about operating within the rules, within a legal framework, and serving the nation above all else.
And that idea of serving the state, of operating within clear boundaries, leads us to our final and maybe the most challenging topic of all. It's this constant, delicate dance, a question of balance between security, secrecy, and democratic oversight.
This right here is the tightrope walk that every modern democracy has to navigate. On one hand, to keep the country safe, your intelligence agencies need to be powerful. They need sophisticated tools, and they absolutely need secrecy to do their jobs effectively. You can't just broadcast your intelligence operations to the world. But on the other hand, for a democracy to be healthy and strong, you need accountability, you need oversight, you need to make sure that immense power is never ever abused. So how do you do it? How do you balance security with accountability, secrecy with oversight, and power with restraint? That is the billion-dollar question.
So I want to leave you with this question to really think about, because it's not just a question for Pakistan, it's for every single one of us living in the modern world. How does a nation, any nation, balance that critical need for secrecy to protect itself with the fundamental principles of democratic oversight? Seriously, take a moment and consider it. There are no easy answers here. And the book suggests that the ongoing effort to find that perfect balance, well, that's the true test of a nation's democratic strength and maturity.
So from the dark corners of spycraft to the bright, chaotic world of digital narrative warfare, what we've seen today is a picture of an invisible shield, a network that, as the book so powerfully describes it, has been a silent architect of the nation's survival. It's a force that you can't see, but one whose impact is felt everywhere, in everything. And that brings us to the book's final powerful assessment. They are invisible, but they are absolutely indispensable. Pakistan Zindabad.